I actually did think about it today,
What
and
do
I
you
was
think
like,
about?
you ever just sit there and just be like, people listen to you talk.
Yeah, it's weird.
Like, it's actually extremely weird.
It's
And
super
like
weird.
it's weird that like I come and sit down with my friends and like we just talk about music and people want to listen to it. It's kind of
Yeah.
weird
No, it's kind of weird.
because I'm not that important.
I have a friend who I don't see as often as I would like. My friend Linny. What up, Linny? If you're listening this week, but she's like, yeah. Sometimes I just listen to it if I want dudes around. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of the vibe. Like,
Okay, I'll take that.
yeah.
Honestly, I would take that.
Also, that's going to be in the podcast. Welcome to the show, everybody. Like,
Made it.
yeah,
Nice start. How
yeah.
was
Nice
everyone's
start, man.
week?
Week's
Let's
going
not.
good.
Everyone's good. Life is good.
Things are happening.
Family's good.
We're living. We're
But
living. We
it's
had
nice to be
another.
back with everyone.
Nice to be back. Nice to be back. Chill week. This has been a cool January.
Yes. Like it's been a very soft start to the year. I'm
I
waiting
feel
for
like this is a
the big
typical.
release.
This is like a typical start for the year. Like I know last year we had two big releases, but in January, but like that was not cool.
I guess that's fair. It only does start off kind of slow, but like I feel like this is the first week it is actually starting to kick up. Like it's much less news and more like, oh, there's actually stuff being
Yeah,
released.
there's
I
some stuff
think the
that came out in
first
the past
major
week.
album might come out this week.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, we'll just jump right into the
yeah.
news
Let's just
since
jump
we're
right
already
into it
discussing it.
because I
Um,
feel like our subject's gonna go long this week.
oh yeah, I could see that.
Yeah,
It's gonna be a nice
this is gonna be a fun one.
one.
Yeah.
But yeah, starting off with our albums for this week coming out tomorrow. Trippy Red Mansion Music. Um, I think this would be the first major release in my opinion.
Yeah,
I don't think it's gonna like be groundbreaking, but in terms of actually like mass streamed,
I'll
it's
say this.
feature lead.
I think
Yeah,
it's bigger than what usually comes out in January.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think it's gonna be pretty successful. The feature list is like as long as a DJ Khaled album. It's kind of ridiculous. Um, but because of that, I think it's going to be a lot more exciting. Going to bring a lot of attention. I think Tripper Red's in an interesting part of his career where he could still take off. I don't think he's like getting to that point. Oh, you miss his shining when you're like brand new, but I
Yeah, no,
think he still has
I
potential
think
to
he's
get there.
relatively established. Like I think Ricky Trippy Red. You know, I'm not the biggest fan of the guy, but I also like got no ill will. I think he's pretty good. He has a unique sound.
That's one thing I
You
would
know,
give him, but like you would think that unique sound would benefit him more. I feel like he
more
does
than
have
it
a
solid.
solid,
Yeah, more than it
Yeah,
does.
yeah, he
it's
has
like
a
we
solid
said.
fan base.
It's
Yeah,
like we said last week. He kind of walks that exact line between Juice World on one end and Playboy Cardi on the other end. He's like right in that middle area, and he
Yep.
fills that kind of void.
yeah. I just wish he was a little bit more popular because I feel like he deserves it. You know, I feel like he does his thing. But I gotta be honest, I saw the track list of this and like
What
people
is
were
it? Only
talking.
3 songs that don't have features or something? 2 or 3.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I kind of want your guys'
out of
thoughts.
like 20.
Yeah, I kind of want your guys' thoughts on that because like there was some discourse about
It's tough.
is that a positive? Well, is that a negative to a lot of people? Because to me, it's like I guess I don't have like a problem with it like creatively, like the idea that like oh this is a very feature heavy project. But I
Mhm.
think like usually when I see a project with this many features, it's never a good sign. You know what I
What are you
mean?
talking about, man? This is the next Dark Fantasy. Come on.
Yeah, Dark Fantasy was like the exception that
A
proves the
very rare
rule.
exception.
You
Otherwise,
know?
it's essentially a producer album, which
Yeah.
then
Yeah,
is acceptable.
producer albums becomes like a different thing, obviously. You know,
Right.
because that's like the whole appeal is like bringing everyone together. You know,
I just feel like because of how streaming just works now and how people consume music, I feel like it's almost more acceptable now. I'm just kind of used to it. When I see a super long feature list, I just feel like that's the custom in rap because you're just trying to get numbers. Such as many different fan bases or fan communities you can get by featuring that artist,
yeah,
that you just naturally grow the numbers. So like for me, I'm used to it because like that's what they just do in hip hop now. But
yeah.
I could definitely see how it could like backfire for any other genre, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it just kind of like puts a cap on like creativity, and also there is something to be said, I think, about uh just too many cooks in the kitchen, you know.
Mhm.
Can we acknowledge a couple of things? One, it's 25 songs, which is a lot for any album coming
Yeah,
out post
for,
2010, I feel like.
extremely fair, extremely fair.
And two, track number 24 is Swag Like Ohio Part 2. I don't know if you guys know the original Swag Like Ohio.
There did not need to be a second one.
Yeah, but what this feels like to me
I
is a
have a feeling
project
I could
where,
tell that. Like,
yeah, it feels like a project where it's like it doesn't really need to be an album. It's just kind of like a collection of songs, all of which might be like bangers, club bangers, whatever, that he just
Yeah.
it happens to package together. And maybe the reason he's got so many features is because he wants each song to kind of like stand alone, almost like it's a collection of singles or something. That would be like my thinking.
yeah, and it's just like I think that's a totally valid way to approach it, but I think that to me personally, I don't think everything needs to be a concept album, but I would like a little bit more cohesion than that. So like I think it just puts a ceiling on like what I could expect from an album.
Biggest Bird is on there. The meme music is real.
The
Jesus
biggest bird.
Christ. Now we do have at least one pretty cool album coming out this week.
Yes, I did not expect this to come out anytime soon. Didn't he?
No,
Wasn't he
we're
like just in a hospital or something?
yeah, he is. I think he still is. It was a car
Okay.
accident or something, right?
I believe so. I can double check. But it had something
Yeah.
to do with
But Boldy James.
Body James. Yeah, he's coming out with this album.
Yeah, in a
The
car
one
crash.
person in Griselda that didn't drop last year. So he's finally here. He's I guess
we're
he's
gonna get
catching
in
up with
January.
everyone else.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm super excited. I'm here for it. I've been on a heavy Griselda kick that we've been talking about nonstop
Who is it?
for for no reason, just walking around the house, like for no reason. There's no cause to it.
Whenever I have to go to like whenever like Rachel's in like the living room and I'm coming from some other place that's not like the living room, I'll just be like, the butcher coming. Like as I walk in.
That's actually hilarious.
She's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I should sit down.
Like, I am so sorry.
Like
It's that and just like for no reason, just be sitting there like, good doctor. It's just like, what are you talking about? She's like, I'm sorry, I'm really bored. I'm losing my mind. But anyway, enough with the ad libs. But yes, he was in he was in a serious two-car accident in Detroit on January 9th. He was considered in critical condition, suffering from broken vertebrae in his neck. Jesus.
That's
Okay. So yeah, extremely serious.
Yeah, pray
and
for
I
Baldy.
don't understand how the album's coming out right now.
I mean, I think it was probably just ready to go.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Like I think it's a rough question, but like, when you have someone who this is an accident, as much as we talk about like the violence and the tragedy, this is not that. Like this is an accident that happens. If this is supposed to come out anyway, seems weird to not do it.
In the deadline, I ain't mad at him. I'm sure he'll slap. But that's all the albums for the week.
Yeah.
Moving on to singles / videos, we've got a collection of some really dope stuff.
Yeah, we did.
This was really exciting, actually. First thing, just to get it out the way, not in a rude way, but it is what it is. Drake released Jumbotron Shit music video.
Did you watch it? Because I did not.
I did eventually watch it, just because it came up on recommendation.
I probably would have if it popped up on my recommended today
That's
on
what I'm
YouTube.
saying.
But
I saw it and I was like, okay, I'll watch it. It's a typical Drake music video.
Okay, yeah. I could already picture it. I feel like you could use Chat GPI to generate a fucking a Drake video at this point.
There's no crazy concept. There's no.
I'm gonna do it right now. Hold on. You guys keep going. I'm gonna do this real quick.
It's essentially it's him with a bunch of jewelry on. Some girls show up. There's some bad girls, to be fair, but I mean, it's straight.
It's a music video.
It's
like goes.
He has a golden PSP that's apparently Pharrell Williams. That was kind of dope.
Okay, that's okay. I can't give it an F now. Like
it was actually pretty dope.
It's probably going to be a D still, but okay.
Look, you see the PSP, it goes up to a C, and then you see him flexing. It's like, you just killed it a little bit.
Exactly. That's exactly how I feel about this.
I mean, it's a music.
I'm sure it's exactly what it sounds like.
If you've seen any Drake music videos since the past maybe 5 years, you can assume what it is.
Yeah. Got another fun one though. Did you listen to
This Is All You?
Yeah, the Armani White featuring Denzel Curry track.
I've only seen Denzel Curry's part of the video in verse.
Yeah.
So when he is performing, just because he was kind of in a lot of the actual cuts and edits and things that were released, it was only showing him. And so I think it was amazing. Jasper, what is this?
This is ChatGPT writing a script for a Drake music video, which I will proceed to read to you, dear audience. So the prompt, write a script for a Drake music video. The script for a Drake music video, In My Feelings, opens with Drake sitting alone in a dimly lit room, staring at a photo of a girl he loves but can't have. He begins to rap the first verse, expressing his longing for her. As the song progresses, Drake is shown driving through the city at night, still thinking about the girl. He pulls up to a party and gets out of the car, but as soon as he enters the party, he realizes she's there with another guy. He watches them dance, laugh together, feeling heartbroken. It keeps going, but I don't have to read the rest. I think you get the idea.
I feel like that's old Drake.
Yeah.
But it's very spot on.
Yeah, this is old Drake, but like
it's extremely spot
still
on.
relevant.
I'm pretty sure In My Feelings is an actual song, right? Like I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think this thing basically picked a song and then just like ran a video script for it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's crazy what you can do with technology.
I can't wait for these robots to kill us all. We deserve it.
Imagine I went through school. We all of us have our masters, and there's going to be
mine's a Fugazi masters. I just want to put that out there.
Even still, there's going to be students essentially just using this to type their papers.
Yeah,
they're better than us.
The data set for 4.0, which is supposed to come out pretty soon, is supposedly 500 times bigger than the one used for 3.0, which is the one that we're currently on. So it's going to get way better really quickly.
Yeah, I don't know like what Brandon in college in 2023 would do, because I wrote essays for beer and weed money. So it was like
it's over for you.
Yeah, no, that was no more.
Jesus Christ.
All right. So yeah, you watched the Denzel part of
I watched the Denzel
I think the whole song is great.
He went off. The whole song's good?
Oh, I like the whole song. Yeah. I like Armani White. Like I don't expect to get a melt my eyes from him anytime soon. But like I think he's good for like a fun song.
Okay.
And I think the whole video is just kind of silly. Like the energy you get in the Denzel part, you just get it throughout the whole video. There's a fun little gospel part. It's pretty nice.
How did I miss that?
It's right before the Denzel section.
Okay. I'm going to go back and check it out.
But yeah, no, he went crazy. He just destroyed the song. Like I found it hilarious that his verse was so good that he got the GOAT award in the video on Armani's song.
That is creative.
Yeah,
that's genius, actually.
But yeah, no, this was probably the first dope single of the year.
I agree. Like we said, it's been a fairly slow start. Which I would think would also be a contender for the single of the year.
Oh yeah, this is its own whole story. This is really something.
Everything within the concept is amazing. For those who do not know, I guess you could say Drake, quote unquote, dropped a single.
J. Cole.
J. Cole dropped a single. Essentially, what happened was that one day he was looking for motivation. He searched up in YouTube what like Drake or not Drake, J. Cole like music.
J. Cole style beat.
Yeah, style beat or something like that. and he found a random producer, like this no name, who made a beat, and he actually decided to rap over it, give it back to that producer, and have him post it as a music video. This is so dope.
Dude, it's
Like
so dope.
everything
And
about
it's
this
really
is so
good.
dope.
And it's
It
really
sounds
good.
amazing. The guy gets free publicity. Like
It's
everything
a
about
dope
this concept
feature.
is so dope.
Yeah,
And the beat's actually really good.
Yeah, I really do think the beat sounds really, really good, especially for someone making J. Cole type beats for YouTube. You know what I mean? Like,
it's not like this guy's actually selling his music or anything like that.
yeah,
Like,
this guy's like,
this is us.
Yeah.
Essentially, this is what would happen if like someone put us on.
This was extremely cool. You know, like I think J. Cole always just comes across super humble, and I think this is just a great example of it.
Yep.
You know,
it's cold season.
It's
I'm
coming.
ready.
It's coming.
I'm ready. It's going to be so
outside.
exciting. I'm going to be acting a fool the entire
It's
time.
coming. Is it a boy? Who knows?
If it's I hope it drops.
If it's not called that, you know, you have to Venmo me $7,000.
That's not what we agreed upon.
I have video footage.
I think you'll do
Literally
a Zell limit of 5,000.
Literally, come on. Let's be realistic here. But
cool.
Super exciting event for the week. Personally, that's my highlight.
That's
the news for the week.
Yeah, that's absolutely the highlight of the week. You know, Goated was like probably the most fun song, but this was just in its whole. It was just such a cool thing to see happen.
No one does it like Cole.
No one does it like Cole.
But more about just Dreamville, not just Cole. Boss also has been teasing new music is going to be coming out soon with an Insta post. Super excited for it. I'm here for it. Seems like Dreamville is back with their strong beginning of the year. They're always the first label to like just take off at the beginning of the year. They're doing it again.
That's true.
So I'm here for it. I hope this Boss song is phenomenal. There's more evidence of J. Cole just being in the studio in general. He is producing the Corday song that's coming out next week. So he's working. He's there. He's in the studio. It's time. It's time.
It's time. It is. It's time for some more J. Cole. I will never be upset at the prospect of having more J. Cole.
He's on my Mount Rushmore in terms of like modern artists.
Modern, absolutely. Yeah,
I don't think it's like debatable.
Yeah, no, he's easily like. There might be 2 or 3 above him, but yeah, if we're talking top 4, top 5, yeah, J. Cole's got to be in it.
I mean, if we're doing a Mount Rushmore, I feel like for modern,
yeah,
at least for me, is J. Cole, not in order at all. J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, Kanye, unfortunately, and Drake, unfortunately.
Yeah,
just because of streaming. But I mean,
the real Mount Rushmore has anti-Semites, so that's fine. Like,
hey, LMAO. Got him.
It's a good place for it, honestly.
Yeah,
just fits right in.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think J.
Welcome
Cole,
to our leftist podcast.
Welcome to I forget the name.
I was gonna say Brandon wants to burn down the government. Let's
be honest. Dude, unpaid politics coming election season.
I will not be on that episode.
That's fine.
I'm down.
Unpaid politics. Unpaid
it's
theory.
To be a 5-hour rant of you just
proletariat
absolutely destroying the government.
I was joking with my friends today about like that call I have next week, and it's like, do you think I'm gonna get like some really good news, or do you think they're gonna print my tweets out and show them to me?
like, so can you explain this for me?
It's like, oh yeah, it's because I think we should loot Denny's.
It's like both. Like, can you explain this hot take right here? You explain it. You son of a bitch, you're hired.
It's like, oh my god, I can't believe this worked. They're gonna find your old comedy sketch and be like, "Oh, like, birds are like cameras from the government." Okay, Brandon.
Yeah, yeah.
Very original take. Yeah,
9/11 didn't happen. To be fair, I said that on stage like 4 years ago.
I was there. I was in the crowd. And I was like, okay, it's okay. That's my friend up there.
I also said 9/11 didn't happen. And
It's
I
just like-
pivoted away from politics by saying the CIA would kill me. And judging by who was in the audience, they might have been there.
Honestly.
It was a very white audience.
But anywho,
Yeah.
before we get ourselves deeper in trouble,
Yeah.
Jasper, what is this?
What's Biggest Bird, Jasper? Is this Sesame
If you-
Street related?
If you don't know, Biggest Bird is the hottest new, just like completely random, stupid SoundCloud shit out of nowhere. It got a music video recently, which fills me with joy. It's the artist running around in a bird suit, basically
Into it.
posting up on actual ducks near a lake. It's just top tier quality content. Just trust me, look
Into
it
it.
up,
Anything
watch
that
it.
involves an
Mwah.
animal
Mwah.
costume, I'm into.
It's
I just
high
searched
art.
Biggest Bird and Google just gave me common ostrich. So it was like, I'm not finding what I need to.
Purvis is like,
I'm not finding what I need
what
to.
if it did that because you Google birds all the time? What if like Purvis is just like home
His
with
secret other hobby is bird
oh my
watching.
god! What if it's for Zay?
Bro.
What if it's like for the cat? He's like, Zay, you want to see a
Just have-
sparrow?
Put it on the big 65 Q ledge. Just be like, hey Zay, you want to see some birds? Like, come on.
I could see you doing that. That makes sense. It's like, yeah, we're doing this because of God. I don't know.
Oh my god!
I'm just gonna send you both the link to it. The song is
I'm-
officially called "The Biggest Bird" by Saint
eventually found it.
Mercator, I guess. Mercator.
Wow.
Oh my god! This is amazing.
It's mwah.
All I've heard was 5 seconds, and I do like the beat.
It's a
I
decent
do
beat.
like the
It's a decent beat.
Yeah.
And the song went viral, and the video came out like what, a day ago, yesterday. So yeah,
Yeah.
I swear I've heard this somewhere.
you
I'm
probably
so
heard it on a
serious.
TikTok or something.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. Okay. Nah. Whoever's watching this podcast, stop it.
Everybody, pause the podcast
Stop
right
the
now.
podcast.
Go watch The Biggest Bird. Come back with a big grin on your
This-
face and keep listening.
This is ridiculous. Nah, there's no way.
Hold up, I'm gonna watch it right now.
I had to do it.
There's
To him.
no way. Official video.
Is it Saint
directed by-
Mercator?
Yeah, yeah, that's the one.
Sick.
I am speechless. Wow.
This is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Like, I'm not even mad. I'm so serious. Normally, I'm like, this is so stupid, but this is.
Nah, see, we need more weird shit back in music again. Like, remember when everybody thought that? Remember
This
when
is
everybody thought
beautiful.
that? It's great. Remember when everybody thought that Gangnam Style was just like weird? Like that
They were
was
like,
weird
yeah,
for
this
the
is
time.
It's like, yeah,
Yeah, like
this
you can't
Korean.
possibly get weirder than this. Then like Lil Nas
Then it
X
gets the
happened.
first billion YouTube video.
Right, yeah, and just like, you know, the bar keeps getting raised very slightly, and I feel like this hits that.
Dude, he's got real birds in this video. This is legit.
I told you he's running
He's
around like
lined up.
posting up on actual birds. It's great.
It's my-
Honestly, this is my recommendation for the week. Right?
I was just about to say, this is now my highlight of the week. This music video tops the J. Cole.
It's just like-
everything about this is amazing.
It reminds me of Tupac so much. Like,
Wait, he's screaming now.
wow.
Oh my
only
God.
only in
I
America.
miss the old YouTube. I miss the old YouTube, dude. Just fucking meme videos and
Oh my god.
oh, this is amazing.
Imagine you're just out in the suburbs in like fucking Buffalo Grove or some shit, and you're driving by like one of those man-made ponds, and you see this motherfucker in an ostrich suit feeding ducks and geese.
I'd just be like, sick. I'd be like,
Man.
thank you for making the best possible argument for living in the suburbs. Sometimes
Facts.
someone might run around in an ostrich costume. I do feel like you're more likely to see that, like maybe Logan Square, probably Clark Street. If I'm being real,
I could see that.
I'm sorry. I'm out of words.
yeah.
Show's
Shall
over,
we-
folks. That's
shall
all,
we-
folks.
Shall we get to the news
Yeah. The actual news of the
and the
week.
actual news of the week?
We don't have much now. This
Yeah.
week is very light. Starting off, Pusha T has been posting him at Paris Fashion Week. I believe it's already
Yeah.
started.
With
He-
Da Vinci.
yeah, I was gonna say possibly signed or contracted to Da Vinci. He looked fantastic.
Just
in the videos.
to set the record straight, Givenchy.
Givenchy, sorry.
You're good. Just
Let me
so that we don't get
yeah.
angry comments,
Givenchy.
Gotta,
Some shit I can't pronounce. That's a Pusha T lyric. I'm not gonna look.
we are men of
I
culture.
speak Ebonics, so you're gonna
And
take
I
it.
speak Italianomics.
Can't even pronounce nothing past that Versace.
Like, yeah, what is this?
Anyway, you said it's
What is this
Da
Balsa
Vinci-
Lagara?
No. What is it?
Givenchy. Givenchy.
That's not how it's spelled,
Givenchy.
though.
Close enough.
That is not.
Can I just call him GV?
Go for it.
Givenchy. Nah, see, I'm gonna go out in public and embarrass myself now. It's not how it's spelled. But anyway,
Yeah.
That's nothing
I'm
in
just saying.
Italian is.
I'm just saying it's literally not how it's spelled.
Or French, I guess, yeah.
But yeah, it looked dope. Everything looks amazing. He posted some photos on Instagram. Usher was there with orange hair.
Pretty cool.
So I think this will be an interesting line if they did do some kind of collab. I
What would
couldn't
that even
afford
be?
Givenchy because it's fucking pronounced special.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, if
still,
I can't pronounce it, I
excited for the
can't
fashion.
afford it.
Absolutely not. But to what I'm really excited about in terms of like releases coming up soon.
Yeah, this is your favorite rapper.
Yeah, it's my favorite rapper. Lil Yachty announces that he is dropping an album next week on the 27th. I'm super excited for this just because of what we discussed last week. Him creating like a girl band or maybe for a song, it seems like now.
Yeah.
I'm fully here for it. If it's a part of
is
the
cool.
album and he incorporated it, I'm here. I know Lil Yachty isn't exactly something groundbreaking, but
I think he's
brings a
cool.
lot of
I think he's eclectic. I don't think anyone makes music like Lil Yachty.
That's true.
Like I think he's cool. I just think like he has a lot of misses, but like I don't have any hate for Lil Yachty. This would be something I happily listen to. All right.
You get into the topic.
Get into the topic. We're gonna be talking about some grown folk shit.
Yep, on our old man stuff. Now
Our
we can
old
actually
man
get an
stuff.
old head.
And I feel like there's a lot of different angles to approach this topic, but we're talking about rappers over 40.
Yep.
Which a strangely new phenomenon when you really think about it.
That is actually very true. I feel like unfortunately a lot of people in the culture don't really make 40 as well.
Yeah. I also think
but
like I think the mentality of the culture also plays into it a lot. And I think like the and this is not like original thought, this is things I've gotten through like things I've watched and read, but I don't know exactly who I'm quoting, so forgive me. But I think it's because people always drew the connection between like hip hop and like sport. And like as you get older with sports, you can't compete at the same level,
Right.
You
naturally retire.
Yeah, there's nothing a 40-year-old can do to compete in the NBA at the same level as a 23-year-old.
Unless you're LeBron.
Yeah, like if you're
in very rare occasions.
Yeah, if you're one of the greatest players of all time, yeah.
Exactly.
But like, what about everybody else? Like,
The other 99% of the league.
But the thing about art is that that's not the case.
No,
so
not at
I
all.
think there was kind of like I do think hip hop is like a young man's game, but kind of like all popular music. But I think as we've evolved past that idea that like you age out of it, I
That is true.
think that's why we're starting to see more and more, like, just rappers sticking around, rappers blowing up at older ages.
I do agree with that, honestly. I think art just in general, I was reading a post the other day just speaking about like famous designers, something like Givenchy. Like a lot of the creators are in their 40s, 50s, or later before
Yeah,
they actually take off, which
yeah,
is just kind of like it's becoming a norm in
yeah,
terms of art. And so what I decided to do, I went back and like 90s is quote unquote like the genre start or not 90s. Hip hop kind of started in the 70s,
yeah.
1970s.
With the late
And
70s.
exactly. And so taking that into consideration, a lot of people that are around then aren't really in the genre anymore, and it's developed and changed in so many ways.
Yeah,
But I feel like around the age of 40, this is where you still get a lot of individuals that are impactful to the actual community, to
no,
the genre, to just entertainment. They've expanded into either movies or television, things like that. And I think it's the perfect age to kind of discuss. It's a very unique age
yeah,
where they were blowing up in the 90s or maybe 10 or 2000s. And now it's like, okay, they're 40 now. What are they still doing?
yeah. Well, because the thing is that, because the thing that we're kind of assuming, which is true for a bunch of like the artists we're going to talk about,
Mhm.
but not all of them, is like someone like Dr. Dre, for example. He's been making music for a living,
Since forever.
yeah, since he was like 20. So
Right.
like what's exciting about seeing him still being a player is that like we see like what this guy Dr. Dre can do when he has billions of dollars at his disposal, as opposed to being like broke.
Still
Mhm.
waiting for detox, so he's clearly not doing that much with his billions of dollars.
Yeah, he's not putting it towards R&D on detox.
but
Uh
yeah,
but yeah,
that is
like,
a very good point.
and then the other thing is that I think there are also rappers that I think the most interesting thing now is I don't even think it's perceived as a handicap. I think there are plenty of rappers who blow up like that are much older. Maybe not all the way to 40, but way older than the usual, because most rappers blow up at what, like 18 to 24?
Yeah, I was going to say, what you think of as a rapper, like you said, it is kind of a young man's sport or young man's genre.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Um,
even younger in some cases.
Yeah.
yeah, and that's the thing. I feel like we're in a very unique situation where maybe not necessarily 40, but we still have a lot of quote unquote older rappers in their 30s, late 30s that are technically like leading the game. So we was really
Yeah.
just talking about the
Yeah.
modern Rushmore. All four people I mentioned are basically 40. Like the
Yeah, like
average
J.
age of all
Cole's in
four of
his
them
mid
are above
30s.
40. Right.
Yeah.
So it's a
And
unique situation where like they still are around, still very
yeah.
relevant, and still impact everything
And
that you hear.
it's crazy to think that like 15 years ago, someone like a J. Cole or a Kendrick Lamar would start getting like the, hey, don't you think your career's over soon? And
Yeah.
to me, like, it is crazy to think like that, you know, the idea that like Kendrick Lamar is almost done with his career, like that's crazy. This guy clearly has so much more he can do.
Right, even now. Like
Yeah,
they were saying that decades ago, basically. And
yeah,
now we're at 2023, you're still like, wow, he is doing a full like concert, full tour with
experience,
merch. Like everything comes together with the album, like
a
top of the line, top
full
out.
conceptual experience. If we want to be extremely pretentious,
Right.
like,
Visual, audio, everything.
yeah,
like um but I think all these people are still relevant. Everyone that we've named, it's crazy to look at these names and be like, wow, I feel old now.
yeah.
um so I guess before we actually like break down each one of those artists that we're going to talk about, how do you feel like in terms of the music that they released and what they did, how does it differ from what you hear today? In terms of just like style and like sound, but like just what did they talk about? Because like a lot of times we discuss around hip hop, it's based on the lyrics.
Yeah.
So you have to think like what's actually different.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. And I think if there's something I can say that I think applies to most of the people on this list, but specifically people who get bigger older, I think
Mhm.
the thing is whether it's the years they put into music before blowing up, or if it's everyone stop and look at the cat. Yeah. But if it's not the music that they did for years before blowing up, like just the time on Earth, I think they can step back and like not get caught up in trends as easily. I think if that's like the one thing that like I think you see from a lot of these older rappers is like the ability to set their own tone, you know? And you could
I
just
was gonna
say,
say they have their own specific style, which is
yeah,
different from like the chameleons that
yeah.
we have today.
I mean, like I'm just gonna pull two examples from here right now. Let's look at Run the Jewels and let's look at Two Chains. I think
Mhm.
those. I think what I just said like applies pretty uniformly to both of those artists. As different as they can be, and they sound amazing on the same track. Run the Jewels for, uh, but they were able to blow up because like they had their own eclectic sounds. Yeah,
Mhm.
Two Chains had the Atlanta sound, but like he didn't sound exactly like anyone else.
That is true.
He was very idiosyncratic. To be pretentious.
And boy, does he have some hits.
Yeah, and he has hits. He has an entire career because of it.
Yep, it is true.
Because not that he's not talented, but you know exactly when Two Chainz shows up, and it's not like necessarily the lyrics, it's the performance, it's the whole
Everything he
construction of the
brings to
whole
the
thing.
table.
Not that he's not talented. Once again, like he carries
Yeah.
the song "Mercy." He's great, but that's kind of like a thing I think is that they have the ability to move outside of trends.
Okay. That's actually a really good answer. Jasper, what do you think? Do you feel like it's the same, different,
I feel like
better, worse?
I feel like
If we
there's
dare go that route.
right. There's definitely a difference, and I think that quality is really dependent on the individual. I think you reach this weird kind of tipping point where older artists either really have something to say or really maybe don't have something to say, or they do and they just can't necessarily express it in, say, the best way or the way that comes across as commercially viable, critically viable, something like that. And what I think about for these, like what I'm trying to describe is the difference between Jay-Z putting out 444 at the age
Yeah,
of what, like 47, versus Eminem putting out like Revival,
yeah, no, that's
where
definitely
they both have things they want to share and contribute in some way, but the way that it's done can take a drastically different approach because these are people who have maybe had a signature sound in the past, but enough time has passed where they kind of are able to reinvent themselves as artists for better or for worse. So I guess it's almost kind of like a rebirth or a revival, if you will, of artists themselves and kind of like their own kind of career path. They kind of choose a new identity and who they want to be in the context of pop culture at that point because it's a new generation who's now listening to them.
yeah. No, you definitely have the ability to just like reinvent yourself. Like when you blow up, like that's really like when you're born in a way. Because in some ways it's like the end of your story, but it's the beginning of the story everyone knows about you.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, the main differences or similarities between the two we just speak on comparing the two, I feel like the main thing that separates them is the fan base that's actually listening to them. I feel like for a lot
Yeah.
of the older heads, it's a more structured, more solid group of people actually listening to them because like it was hard to listen to music back then. And like if you like someone, you really rock with them, so you put in the effort to buy physical copies of the
Yeah.
music, buy merch, actually have them as posters in your room, things like that. You rarely see that in comparisons now because everything's just digital. You
Yeah.
can download a wallpaper, you can stream anything. So like I just feel like the fan bases what really helped the older generation was like they can actually build a real fan base and like keep like constant repetitive music actual satisfy the people that they're meaning to. Where I feel like nowadays it's a numbers game. You reach as many people as you can. So you have and we're ending up with people like Drake. It's just mass and producing music. It's a brand. He drops as consistent as Apple. And it really makes you think like, okay, who's actually gonna listen to Drake? Who actually likes Drake for Drake?
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree with most of what you said, but like part of it, I'm like trying to figure out like how to put it. So give me a second.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I agree. I think the thing is, I do think artists can find valid. I don't necessarily buy that it's harder to have a core audience nowadays. I actually think the internet has made a lot of a lot of artists a lot bigger than they would have been in the analog era. You know, I think about someone like Tyler the Creator. Like, I don't know if he would have been able to sell records, but he was certainly able to get streams. You know, and like that guy is, you know, as creatively valid as anyone who came before him in the past. But I agree that like back then it was just so much personal because there just wasn't so much of it. It was
it was a special feeling to have a
special
CD in your car.
Yeah, and like there was like and if you really wanted to be up on it, you really had to be up on it. Like you couldn't just go on Twitter. Work. Yeah, like you would have to put in way more work than we put into this podcast. Like
the way I think about it is like, and I know Jasper can 100% like attest to this and also appreciate the older community of both of these, but like it's like the shoe game community. I feel like it's a special feeling to sit out and camp for shoes. It was an old nostalgic feeling that everyone had to go through. You showed that you earned these shoes because you sat out and you waited for it. You waited overnight for the release. You put in the work. You do the research. What stores have in stock. It's a process, and it's a skill process that you learn.
Yeah.
So
now you can just open up the sneakers app and lose automatically.
Yeah,
so it's like
this is actually kind of takes away from. This is actually something that was covered in one of my favorite classes I took in school, which was basically about kind of just consumer behavior in general.
I had to take a ton of those too, yeah.
Yeah, I forget which one it was, but basically the idea that what cool is changes over time according to the technologies that we have available. So because cool used to be, you know, owning certain specific items that other people couldn't find, but then the internet kind of showed up and democratized everything, and now anyone with an internet connection and a good credit card can basically be cool. So what cool is then kind of changes into something else, and you see it in food. For in the early 2000s and 90s, organics were like this trendy thing, and obviously, you know, there maybe are, you know, health benefits associated, but it's like this trendy thing. Then when the lowest common denominator, Walmart, got into organics and started stocking them, that kind of trendy community focused around that shifted, and they went to the localvore. So now no longer is it how organic or how, you know, healthy is your food because of how it's grown, but where is it grown? The closer the better. It shows access and it shows a kind of ability to obtain something. And, you know, the internet has kind of, I would say, eroded that in a way for music like this, where it becomes there's less of a barrier to entry, which is not a problem because, you know, it's good that artists who are good get exposure, but at the same time, there's, I think, a more casual kind of listener or viewer experience. You know, you're not buying an album at the store for $10. You know, if you're buying an album at the store for $10, and $10 is a lot, you know, in say 1990
really
or whatever,
you
really want that album, and you better like those songs. And if you even if you don't like it, you might listen to it. Maybe it'll grow on you. You paid for that.
You paid for the whole album.
Exactly. Yeah. But now it's like everything's bite-sized. People listen to playlists. The album as like a format, I think, is unfortunately less important than it's ever been at a time when I think it could be more useful than ever before. Because, you know, is this song playlistable? Is a question we ask ourselves when we you know listen to an album and think about how replayable it is. You know, it's just kind of a consequence of the tech.
Or like even just like how it plays like outside of the context of the album.
Yeah.
You know, because playlist, and like playlists predate streaming too, like all the way, like going all the way back to like the beginning.
Mixtape.
Let me burn this CD, right?
Yeah, let me make you.
Right.
Let me make you a mixtape. There you go.
Literally.
I think like one of the more interesting things is that, you know, in the 90s, if you were a music aficionado like the three of us who talk about it on the internet, right? You would be someone who goes out and like looks for records, looks for cassettes, looks for CDs, gets the band merch, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
But the casual consumer, 90% of people, where do they go? The radio and
Right.
clubs. You know, and when I say clubs, I mean that any kind of like place that just plays music, you know. And it's a curated experience. Basically, that's what like the average people who actually consume music at scale, that's what they're looking for. And now the thing is, now those two groups of people have to get the same thing, are trying to get two different things out of streaming, which are more or less identical, you know?
Mhm.
So it's kind of like a square peg, round hole kind of thing.
Yeah, you talk about curation in that way. I don't remember who it was. Maybe it was like Rooster Teeth or somebody else, but in the gaming space,
You know
there
about
was,
Rooster Teeth?
of
Okay.
course,
That's what's up,
buddy.
Not a lot of people follow Rooster Teeth.
We all know Rooster Teeth. We're all depressed.
Xbox boys, come on.
Not a
but
lot of people know Rooster Teeth. But that's
I think maybe they had a review thing, or it was somebody else. But basically, their tagline is "We play the crap so you don't have to."
Yeah.
Which, on the one hand, thank you for saving me time. If the game is, you know, Evolve circa 2013 or whatever the hell that came out, deep cut right there. But at the other hand, like whatever happened to just experiencing media for yourself without coloring your opinion, you know, with someone else's take, you know, it's something that I think doesn't happen at all anymore because people's or not at all, but much less because people's time is valuable. But at the same time,
I feel like consuming media in a vacuum now is something that takes effort. You know,
it is. I 100% agree.
And it doesn't necessarily take a lot of effort, but maybe too much for most people, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I really think it comes down to that, really. Fuck, man. We were like, man, this is not going to be a big, oh, we missed the 90s because we weren't really alive. I was in the early 90s, but
I
had a great time in the 90s eating dirt and pooping my pants.
Yeah.
Literally, I was a baby.
Dude, by the time 1999, Pokemon, that was my thing. My earliest
Pop it
90s.
off.
Yeah.
I was a Pokemon boy in 2002 would have been my earliest. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't get into Pokemon until I was very, very young.
Yeah. So my question is like, so what do you think needs to happen for artists that navigate these like changing states of like the culture, like the changing of cool, right? Like what is the actual fundamental difference between like a Jay-Z and an Eminem, right? Because Eminem's made some great albums. He has talent. I think he will forever be regarded as one of the best. But like, and he has sold like 4, 5, 6 times as much as Jay-Z.
Still selling.
Yeah, right? However, I think it's fair to say that if Eminem and Jay-Z both gave like, I think Anthony Fantano said this like this week, and like it's
he appeared on somebody else's podcast. I watched that same thing. Yeah.
And it was like people are gonna listen. So like, why do we think that is? Is it just because like Jay-Z still makes good music? Because I remember Magna Carta Holy Grail. It was fine.
I like that album. That's actually one of the Jay-Z albums I like more, to be honest.
I thought I liked some of the
there are a
big
couple
hits.
standout tracks on there for me. There's some I don't like, but
Yeah.
There's a decent amount that I do very much like.
Yeah.
Crown is still heavy in my liked rotation.
Okay.
It's got that early Travis sound that I'm just a sucker for. That like Al Faro 2013 type beat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to revisit because
Yeah.
I feel like Jay-Z is the most fallen over artist for me in terms of our old head.
Really? But you listen to 444, right? Like even I
did,
like,
of course.
because like 444 is like I think the project that like sums up like the type of music we're talking about. It's like the kind of shit you only get if you have been making hip hop for 20 years.
And
That
yet,
is true.
that is true. But at the same time, if you go up to someone who's never listened to Jay-Z, only in passing, maybe knows the hits, and play them, Empire State of Mind, and then play them the story of OJ, like there is, I think, a big disconnect there in terms of like, what's being said artistically and also, what's kind of being delivered musically. So there's definitely, I think, more of a I would say a narrative there than is just, oh, well, this is just the result of being in the game for this long and kind of pivoting your sound.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that because you can tell within pretty much every artist we see here, if they are still releasing albums, it's just you got to think about an artist in terms of their lifestyle because a lot of art that we consume, it's a very special moment in time.
Yeah.
We've
Yeah.
opened up the podcast with this kind of conversation around Chance the Rapper, where it's just like, we're not going to get another Chance doing acid. He's married with kids.
Yeah.
So you just gotta you gotta take it as you can, and like when it comes, you appreciate that moment. And so you gotta realize like every single artist that we're gonna be talking about, like 40 and over, like not that they're past their prime, but they're past their story. Like a lot of rappers' stories or the concepts that they release, it is more about their upbringing, which typically ends up being more in the struggle just due to the demographic of a lot of artists. So, like, you're fighting for something, you have something to tell, there's value in what you can bring to the table because there's nothing more relatable than pain. There's nothing more relatable than like those raw emotions. So, like, when you are coming up, you are able to express that in a certain type of way that makes you stand out. You get MF Dooms, you get Jay-Z's, you get Andrew 3000. So I feel like once you are able to tell that story, then it's like, okay, now what?
Yeah.
It's like, how do I move forward with my career?
Yeah.
So that's when it's really like, okay, are you really an artist? What can you just create now?
And
It's
and
not
that's
about you. What can you do?
yeah, and that's one of those things that's tough about being a listener too, right? Is, an artist may live through a period where they produce a certain body of work and then they kind of move on and are able to reconcile or kind of evolve in a certain way where they can then shift that into something else. And maybe it develops a new sound, a new subject matter, whatever else. But when you listen to music, all of it is available instantly. You're not living and growing through those changes necessarily. If you want to listen to, the original Chronic, you can just look it up.
Yeah.
And it's this thing where all versions of an artist's self kind of live simultaneously through their discography, through their work.
Yeah.
And I think it really creates an image in someone's mind of an artist, not necessarily as they are, but as they'd like them to be. And I think that's why it's so hard to reconcile.
Yes.
It's so hard to reconcile like certain actions artists take. Like when I think about the way people defend Kanye after everything that's happened. Well, he said George Bush doesn't care about black people. So how could he possibly be this? How could he possibly be that?
It's the image you've built up. In
Exactly.
Your head. It's
You
literally
generate
one
a
of your
perception.
leaders.
Yeah.
You generate a perception because you have access to all media and may treat it as contemporary, even though it is not. And you don't. There's a word for this. It's called a parasocial relationship. And it's when you develop an idea of someone as though you know them, even though you may never have met this person, but you feel as though you have like a connection with that person.
Yeah, we're hoping to make many of them through this podcast.
Exactly. There you go. Yeah.
Make this real. You are not just
you're our friend.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like it becomes difficult to reconcile, different parts of an artist's career based on the fact that there's arguably too much media accessibility.
Yeah, no, because
you just know too much.
There's no filter, right, anymore.
There is zero filter. And if it happens, you will find out about the artist.
And like another thing is that, and I really love what you just said because like, it's something I've been thinking about a lot recently. Because I'm trying to think like, to me, a big warning sign in a human being is just like when they say like, "Oh, I only listen to old music," and it's like to me, I think like. Well, no, because, like, what does this say about you up here that, like, you only listen to old music? And, like, the thing is that, like, you're right. Like
You can
anything,
develop.
the thing is that like whenever you're interacting with something or a collection of art that exists before you actively interacted with the culture it comes from, right? It's false because it's the same thing like when old heads always talk about like, oh, the little pumps, oh, the little, you know, the whatever, the SoundCloud rappers, like when they complain about like the modern style, right? Those shitty rappers always existed. We just forgot about the ones in the 90s. Because
Exactly.
do you think anyone's going to think about Little Pump in 20 years? No.
No.
Time has eroded it. Yeah.
The ultimate filter is time. And
Facts.
yeah, like, and I'm not saying it's impossible to interact with the past honestly, but it takes a lot of effort and like way more effort than I put into music. Like my cousin Alan, like works for a music service and he works for like a music magazine and like he only listens to old music and I'm like, okay, this guy is like putting in the effort to like listen to truly understand a point in time that is not now, right?
Yeah. But yeah, that's the thing.
And
I feel like you have to be around when it's happening.
You either
to
have
actually truly get it.
To truly get it without having to do a shit ton of work.
Right. Yeah,
right?
To put it into the proper context and separate it from what is now in terms of music in general.
And like me, like I have ADHD and I like this shit. So to me, that's fun. Like getting all, you know, listening to the Wu-Tang Clan and then listening to all the solo records and all that stuff. That's fun.
I am so excited for MF Doom. You have no idea how excited I am to get into MF Doom.
Yeah, okay. Should we start talking about rap? Go ahead.
Real quick, I just want to add one more thing to this, which is the opposite of that can also happen. And I'm going to give you an example, and I'm also going to give you a hot take that neither of you are going to like. All right? So here we go.
I'm grabbing my gun.
Yeah.
Sitting up.
So, I mean, the opposite of this is also, you know, someone who might come into an artist not at the time of their kind of great development, but much later, right? Yeah. So I'm usually pretty late to the party with a lot of things. I listen to things that I get into, and I run them into the ground for like a number of years, and then I move on to something else.
I do that too.
And so because of this, there are certain gaps in my musical knowledge. Like I never listened to Kendrick as he was coming out, for example. I haven't even, I like never listened to any of his stuff at the time of release ever. And only recently
for the Frank Ocean.
True. Frank too. Yeah. But only recently did I go back and listen to Pimp a Butterfly for, I think, the third time through ever. And the first two times was probably in, I would say, 2016, maybe. And I'm not going to lie, it doesn't resonate with me because so many of the concepts in that album that I'm sure were, you know, not even revolutionary, but just insightful and important and impactful in music at the time are so well trodden now and have kind of become the norm in a lot of ways. And for me personally, it was like when I first saw Saving Private Ryan, where it's like, this is an incredible film and it's filled with all this detail and this depth and this emotion. But there are so many other films that have kind of taken the Private Ryan formula and run with it and done it in a way that is maybe more visually appealing or more striking in terms of cinematography, that it kind of dilutes the original experience because I didn't experience it at the time. It was not the impactful piece of art that I expected it to be.
This happens a lot in film schools with The Godfather.
Yeah. And what I'm saying is, for me, To Pimp a Butterfly was that where I love Good Kid, Mad City, and I listen to it pretty often. But I went back to Pimp a Butterfly and I just listened to it again. I was like this isn't doing it for me right now.
Wow.
It's not connecting with me the way I'm sure it connected with audiences, you know, in 2013. That's
I understand like the idea because like for the first few years, like I instantly was like, this is incredible. But I kind of almost had the Mr. Morale feeling about it, where it's like, this is a lot. Like I'm gonna listen to
this is heavy.
It's dense, yeah, for sure.
But as it's grown on me, it's an album I listen to very casually.
And I'm going to continue to do that. It's just that on this kind of first impression coming back to it after all these years and not even having listened to it when it came out originally, it really didn't do it for me in that context because
Wow.
I feel like I'm so removed from the original context of the album. It doesn't carry any of that weight, and I'm only judging it based on what I'm hearing musically.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
And,
lie, I had the same experience.
Yeah.
It actually did. Because it's a heavy album.
Heavy album.
It's hard for you to just like turn it
Greatest
on.
closing
Like,
track
okay.
of all time, though.
It's one of the like most insane hip hop albums out there.
yeah, and that's why I think I tend to skew more towards just like musicality being something that really has a lot of weight for me when it comes to hip hop as a genre, because I don't listen to things in their time. I'd say a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So if the sound is more timeless in a way, it tends to make it a much more enjoyable experience for me. And if when artists date themselves, it makes it very hard for me to enjoy music.
Yeah.
Like, and that's something that I think, if we're going to get into these lists a little bit here, Eminem has really kind of fallen on his own sword in the past couple of years doing that, where he's really dating his music in some kind of way.
Yeah.
Kanye's been doing it a little bit too, or did it a little bit in, Ye and some in Jesus is King, but like Eminem has really been kind of going down that path in what I think is a very self-destructive way for the legacy of his art. But, that's another conversation.
I completely agree with your take on Eminem, right?
I think everyone agrees with Eminem.
Yeah, but I think like my thing is, I think what you're saying about like the cultural context in which something is released in is so important, and I think we can all agree that when the two things line up, when something does have a sound that can live outside of the context, but it still has that cultural weight, like I think that's the best of both worlds. And like this is just the perfect pivot for like my favorite rappers that are over the age of 40, which are Killer Mike and LP of Run the Jewels. And like we always talk about how they release their albums during times of national crisis.
Emotion.
Yeah.
Moments of strife.
Yeah. Well, like, I saw
government downfall.
Yeah. During Ferguson, Run the Jewels 2, Donald Trump's election, Run the Jewels 4. Literally,
they come with the heat.
Yeah, they come with the heat, right? But the thing is that I think those albums really do. I think they tap into the emotions of those times very well, but there's no real self-referential stuff besides for like, who's the guy who? Never mind. I don't look this up right now. It's gonna.
Okay.
It's the basketball guy who got caught like in 2014, like
caught on what? If it's basketball, I'll figure it out.
Donald Sterling.
Oh yeah. The whole racism towards his girlfriend's friends coming to the games or whatever.
Yeah, besides for a few bars about Donald Sterling, like the album doesn't date itself at all, right? Yeah. And I think like that's very timely. And like this is also a group I like to talk about in this context because they didn't blow up until they were older. Like they were both in the game for well over a decade.
Said both are 47
right now. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, I think the craziest thing to me is like when I learned that Run the Jewels came out. Run the Jewels 3 came out when they were 35 or no, it was 42, right? And it's like, oh, I still have 12 years before I get to that
even
one.
In your position,
right? Like like there are some artists that like you interact with, and it's like, oh, I feel old. Like whenever I think about like Juice WRLD or like any of the young rappers, it's like, oh, these guys are 5 years younger than me.
It's yes. It's literally like these people.
It's like I'm
kids.
so old, I couldn't be relevant. But then I look at someone like Killer Mike and LP, and it's like, oh, I got time. Like I got time. Let me cook. Like
let him cook.
Let me cook, both literally and figuratively.
Okay, well, let's actually like get it organized then. Your first ones are Mike and LP, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead, go through your list, and then we'll all go through each other's list, and we'll kind of do surface level.
Yeah, no, like that's. I don't have anything more to say about Killer Mike and LP. Nothing that I haven't already said. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Should we take turns then, or should we go by?
You go first because you haven't done your first one yet. Because Jasper did Eminem, and then I did Mike and L.
So my first one personally is MF Doom. I am so excited to get into this music. I told myself this year I'm gonna dive into everything. The unique thing about MF Doom that I've discovered is that he went under several names.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a mission finding
Yeah.
everything. But
There's a
I'm
subreddit out
so
there for
excited.
you.
Yeah.
I'm about to say
There's
there's definitely a subreddit.
there's bound to be
Oh,
tons of guides for MF
I was
Doom.
gonna say there's definitely already
Yeah.
playlists generated. But I'm so excited, honestly. I think what he brought to the table is very unique in terms of like he is probably one of the biggest underground artists there ever was, to the extent where like his name is so popular, it's essentially a household name, where he's almost not underground, but he was able to bring that style of music into the genre. It's a very like deep take within the hip hop genre that's meant to be focused on lyrics, and his wordplay is phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that he did pass away, but I think that's just going to give myself even more of a special feel just to be like, okay, now I can truly dive in and see what this is about.
And like he's another really good artist to talk about in this context because like he went on for a long time before he got the respect he
Yes,
deserves, right?
a very long
You
time.
talk about now like everyone from like the Backpackers to Drake will talk about the influence of MF Doom, but like he did not have all that the same level of appreciation when he first hit the scene, you know?
Yeah, and I think one thing, and it could be a take, but you see a lot of older music that is considered timeless that stands the test of time that we've been talking about. We're like, okay, it's still good in 2023. It's because of the lyrics, because of the message they told. And so I feel like MF Doom is one of those individuals. It's just like his wordplay, what he brought to the genre in terms of like his stories. It truly defeats time.
Yeah.
Like so, it's actually worth like continuing to listen to his music, stretch out his legacy, and like even after death, you still have a very strong impact. Because like, if we're being honest here, once you pass away in the genre, you got to be real special to stick around.
Yeah.
Like it's Juice World that has insane streaming numbers. But like besides that, the only people that I think had a longer impact after death in terms of like actually listening to the music is like Big and Tupac.
Yeah.
Besides that, like
Yeah.
anyone else has passed away, you don't really listen to their music
Yeah.
if we're being honest. So I think that alone puts them on my personal list for top.
I think that's valid. I think that's valid.
So Jasper, what's your second one then? We're going
Well, I do want
on.
to just say one more thing about Eminem. Even though the new stuff hasn't aged as well, I just
Mhm.
gotta acknowledge, I also tend to be of the kind of school of thought that, in my opinion, Eminem is the single most influential thing to happen to the genre of hip hop in all of its history.
Okay.
Because look at what the landscape of hip hop and rap would be like today in terms of who's listening and who's paying attention to the genre without Eminem kind of opening the floodgates to an entirely new demographic of people, an entirely new age group of people kind of engaging with this genre, or at the time it was really more of a subgenre, that otherwise they never would have known existed. And, maybe someone would have come along and done it eventually, but Eminem was the one who did it. And I think that, without Eminem, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be listening to this right now. I mean, it was angry high school me who was like, you know what, fuck it, I want to try something different. And I just like went and put on like Eminem CDs that my neighbor had and was like, oh, this is tight. And like, this is what resonates with me. So I'm going to listen to it for like 3 years. And then that brought me into like more and more just diverse sounds of music. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think the effects or the impact that he's had can be overstated enough, just or overstated at all, just because of what he's done for the genre. But my
Yeah,
next
that's
pick
fair.
is my next pick is Dr. Dre. For every star pupil, there's the master, the teacher,
Yeah.
and I think Dr. Dre is that. What Dre or what Eminem did for hip hop in the mainstream, I think Dre did for the underground in
Yeah.
a sense. The Chronic being the first really polished album to come out and say, okay, this is an actual genre that even if it's not super popular up until this point is no longer this underground cultural movement. It's a music genre. And here's the breakout kind of new sound from LA and all these characters and all these people who kind of come with it. This entire industry almost props up on the West Coast around this, and I think that again can't be overstated. And he kept it consistent all the way through up until Chronic 2001. And then even through all the little singles and other things he's been on and produced, and he's just had a super consistent hand all the way through. So that's my second pick.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah. I don't know if I definitely think Dr. Dre is the guy who brought hip hop to me.
Yeah, I agree
with
yeah.
NWA. Like I agree with your like what you say about Eminem. Like it's the single biggest widening of the net of the genre.
So let me say, I'm sorry, not necessarily of the mainstream, but I would say Eminem is the kind of the godfather of pop rap, of like making rap part of popular culture. Okay, that's what I should have said. Yeah.
Okay, I could definitely I fuck with that a lot more. Just because like I think Dr. Dre is the guy who brought it to the mainstream with NWA.
I agree.
And was like, this is not just like a cool thing they do in New York. This is a full genre of music.
It's not just block party music. Yeah, it's something you would actually listen to.
Whole West Side Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I thought Dr. Dre was a fantastic choice. Just because like he is the elder statesman of hip hop.
When you think of hip hop, you have to consider.
Yeah, we're talking. Basically, we got to talk about the Super Bowl performance from last year.
Oh, no question. That's
just because like you saw just like the absolute dominant energy, like Eminem.
Was that before we started the podcast?
I think
because we talked about that a lot.
I think we talked about it like a month after it happened.
Wow. I mean, but honestly, it was like it's a moment in time. It's a period where we get so many like older artists on the main stage performing at the top level. It was great to see.
It's the best Super Bowl halftime show that's ever been. I think critically, it's pretty much agreed upon by like all the major publications, whatever else. And it's just like this absolute
You're
love.
Some beef from that.
Over who?
Oh, I really loved the Weeknd's halftime show.
The Weeknd was good.
I thought his was
been good.
Okay.
His was definitely like more.
A lot of older people like Michael Jackson, Prince, like it's up.
But in terms of exclusively the performance of the halftime show, a lot of those were not that great looking back, just because of technical issues or challenges with the way their set was done, stuff like that. I think in terms of like
I agree, it's one of the best of all time. I'll 100% say it's one of the best
I love
of all time.
it. Yeah, I absolutely.
It's more ambitious than.
But
I'm
saying you will definitely get some heat for saying
that's fair. But I think that there's some not consensus, but there's a lot of people who do kind of agree with that in a sense, just because it's more ambitious and it kind of did more with the event than others have in the past.
Yeah.
But it meant more than an event at that point.
Yeah,
it's just a
West Coast. This is a special.
It's in LA, right? And it's this just love letter to old school West Coast hip hop, and you had everybody there who was impactful in it, and it just made it for this great kind of
it was a much deeper meaning than any other.
Exactly.
I'll give you that.
It was fantastic, and like, look, I thought it was going to be good just because Kendrick Lamar was going to be there, and I'm like, well, can't be too bad. But,
that's all you have to say. You said Kendrick Lamar?
Yeah.
Honestly?
Okay. 50 Cent actually performing Upside Down? That was crazy.
That was very cool.
That was pretty dope.
What I think is also worth pointing out from that is just, I think how important it was that Dre made a public appearance, because I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, but he's been going through it. He recently went through like a really messy divorce, and then I think it was just before that, also had a brain aneurysm that he recovered from, like during the pandemic. So for him to be out in public and performing in front of a live audience, and then also in front of a TV audience of millions, alongside Snoop Dogg. Is just this absolutely iconic moment. It's like the return. It's the return of the king, pretty much.
Yeah, because like I don't think that there is a more well-known piece of hip hop music than just that.
Yes, it's back.
The what's the one with Snoop Dogg? It's the
yeah, man.
No, I agree.
Man, fantastic.
I think him battles with your second one, to be honest. I think both of those are like,
honestly,
in terms of old head, those are the names of hip hop for me.
Sure, but they also kind of represent opposites in a way. Because like when I was asked to bring in another old one, I knew I wanted to talk about Mike and Elk just because like they're my favorite rappers ever right now, and like
and they're over 40.
Yeah. But the other ones, like, it was so hard to pick because I wanted to get someone from Wu-Tang.
We don't have Lil Wayne on this list.
Yeah,
I just wanted to point that out.
Well, to be fair, Lil Wayne is not yet over 40. He turns 41 this year. He's not 41
same
yet.
Same with everyone on Griselda. All the Griselda guys are all 40.
Yes.
I would say
I had Lil Wayne originally, and I swapped him for I swapped him for Jay-Z.
The asterisk.
Yeah.
I would have accepted.
No, I think 40 is fine. But I get like I appreciate the spirit of it. But my next one I gotta talk about Andre 3000. And first off, one of the greatest creative minds to ever grace American music and hip hop in general, right? But I do think he represents like almost like the opposite of what Dr. Dre does, where it's like some people like they have a fulfilling career, and how do you not have a fulfilling career being a part of Outkast? And then you move on. And I think that's kind of what you see with Andre 3000. Like he still does music. You know, he did Life at the Party. He always shows up for Frank. Like, but he has this ability to be super selective because like he doesn't need to be. And I thought like
it protects his legacy. Honestly,
it really does. Right, and he's able to go do the other things he likes. He publishes books of poetry and acts in movies. Right, like he's doing other things right now. And I think like that's the other thing is that and there was something that happened this week, like in the news, that made me think about this. But I think sometimes we don't respect musicians, period. But I think a lot of other systemic biases come down on hip hop artists. But we don't really respect them as like artisans and craftspeople and workers, right? The Kendrick Lamar leaks this week kind of remind me of that because it's like this is stealing from one of the from
who leaks Kendrick Lamar?
This is stealing from one of the greatest artisans in human history. Like I don't want to participate in this, right? So I feel like we don't think about hip hop in that way. We think of it in the hyper commercialist way that we're forced to because of late stage capitalism and streaming.
And just the demographic in general,
and we just don't see it.
Yeah,
like
I think we measure a lot of artists' worth through not necessarily the quality of their projects, at least, well, some people do, obviously, but through the frequency or the regularity of their publication. Like so-and-so didn't drop this year, they're falling off, you know. That
it's like from years 4 to 10 of a project's life, it's completely ignored. Like,
and then it comes back.
And then once it's 10 years old, it's like, okay, now it's like part of the canon.
It's hit his 10-year anniversary. It's
exactly.
I mean, look at people trying to buy Channel Orange.
Yeah.
Like
people trying to buy Channel Orange vinyl.
Yeah, or any Frank vinyl.
I can't hold it. I was like, hold on, let me run to the bathroom. I have to go right now.
Yeah.
All
right. But yeah, like I think some people just forget that like, yeah, it takes time and effort and it's hard and it's a really specialized skill to make music. And sometimes after doing it for so long, after having a run like Outkast did, it's just like, done with this.
Yeah. And it's an appropriate retirement. Like sometimes it's not always good to push it.
Yeah. And like, look, you're more than welcome. You could totally like just stop being like a full-time musician and just come back when you want to, like he does. You know, like that's totally fine. So
and we're talking about every time
we're talking about rappers over 40. Like, I don't think that there's one.
When I think of Andre 3000, I can't stop thinking about the Key and Peele skit.
Wait, which one?
Where the accidental Outkast reunion at the coffee shop.
Oh yeah.
Look into the pinwheel with your third eye.
I'm gonna have to rewatch that. Key and Peele was like one of the top.
Key and Peele was really good. Key and Peele was really good.
So good. It's on Netflix now.
Yeah.
At least
Really?
a couple seasons are. Not all of it, but I watched all of it on Hulu like over the course of the pandemic.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Purvis,
All right, well,
what's your next
but-
one? Truly a
yeah,
mind, unlike.
So mine, because like I texted you this past week, and my Spotify playlist decided to play "Feds Watching" by 2 Chainz.
I love that song.
That song
so much.
bangs.
That song does bang.
I love that
Like
song.
if the feds
I'm gonna
watch
be fresh
it,
in hell if the feds watching.
So good.
every single time, I'm gonna be fresh as hell if
Too
the
long.
feds are watching. But just 2 Chainz career within itself, I think it's phenomenal. I think he's made quite a name for himself. We've mentioned him earlier in the episode, and I think it is because he's made his own name. It's his own style. When he comes on, 2 Chainz is on the song.
And he's also
Like,
great. He's great evidence that like age is not a disqualifier, right?
Not at all.
Yeah,
because he started. I don't want to say late, but later than the musicians.
Yeah, he was certainly in his mid to early 30s.
Exactly.
He's 45 now, and he got really famous in like what 2012. So that's about 10 years ago.
Yeah, he'd be 35.
You have to think like, what do you really flex as a mid 30-year-old? Let's be honest. So it's just like it's amazing.
He had 2 Chainz. There you go.
That's all you needed.
And he had a few on. To be honest,
he had a few on.
Yeah, he has 2 Chainz, but he had him a few on.
And even that within itself, the fact that we can laugh here and joke about like his lyrics, just like
because they're just so good. They're so fun. It's just like,
so good.
I do feel like there is a tendency, and like this happens exponentially more with older fans and artists, to like treat hip hop like this sacred text. It's like, nah, man. Sometimes this is fun. Sometimes
we could just bang.
Yeah.
Sit in the car, blast your speakers.
Yeah.
Whenever.
Sometimes I just want to think about if I'm gonna rap or go to the league. Like that's all I really need.
I'm gonna go off on another reference.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just gonna go off on another reference tangent here. When people talk about like, man, old hip hop sounded better, I just think, or like, it's this important thing. I think about Gambino doing his stand up when Donald Glover stand up. Like, you know what old rap sounds like? Well, I went to the hat store and I bought myself a hat.
That does
literally. That is what it uses.
I don't want to
love that DMC
music. Yeah. My God.
But this is exactly what I want out of like an old head. He is still making music, and he has expanded past just like the actual one genre, the one form of media. I feel like he's had a career within entertainment. He's been in movies, TV shows.
He's a personality.
Is a personality now. Exactly. He's become an influencer in a natural way where it's not weird.
Yeah.
Well, like, okay, he's 45. But like, I would definitely listen to what he has to say, what he can bring to the table.
He has a collab sneaker nobody talks about.
Yeah.
He has a collab sneaker. I didn't even see. That's the thing.
I gotta get some.
I'm a shoehead, and I didn't even know that.
Some 2 Chainz sneakers.
Well, it's a high fashion shoe, which is why it's not like regular sneakerhead shit. It's the Versace Chain Reaction. Was the original colorway was promoted as a collab with 2 Chainz because it's the Chain Reaction, and it was designed. It was designed by Salehi Bembury, who's blown up with Crocs and New Balance and everybody else. So. Yeah, Bembury was the designer of the shoe. It's kind of like what put him on the map, and then he went on to do stuff for Crocs and New Balance.
Purvis, it looks like there's a ghost dragon about to get you.
Yeah, he climbs up there.
For anyone listening to the podcast and not watching it, a very orange, very dumb cat is really trying to make himself comfortable on Purvis's chairs.
Wait. Let's say, who are your favorite rappers over 40?
There you go.
He can't hear you, one. And two, it's very.
It's like Danny Brown. That's okay. I mean, I guess he's over 40. But
we'll give it to him. That's a good answer.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my second one. I think he is a staple to the community. I think he brings a lot to the table.
Yeah.
And he's one of a kind. That's the most important.
Yeah, one of a kind for sure. And cheers to him for not taking shit so seriously.
Yes, actually, though. It's
Yeah.
one of the more like friendly older people that
Yeah.
aren't over the top. Right. So I guess Jasper, you mentioned your third already. Should we go to our third ones?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Yeah, my third that I put was Jay-Z, just because I mean you want to talk impact and cultural significance in the new millennium. I don't think anybody really. There are people who have been more commercially successful and maybe more critically successful as well, but I don't know if anybody really carries the same kind of weight or like presence of mind for a lot of people. I don't remember who it was. Some NBA player was doing a Q&A recently, and they were asked like, "Who are what's your favorite music artist?" And he said, "Oh well, right now I'm listening to so and so. All time is Jay-Z." And that's something that people tend to come back to. I feel like is Jay-Z just being this very, I would say, pivotal figure for the direction that rap was going, that wasn't necessarily, say, gangster rap in the same sense, but also wasn't necessarily the new school, right? The
Yeah.
Kanye effect.
The adult contemporary lane.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
When I
just
think of Jay-Z, I genuinely do think of like actual old head.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
an actual old head.
Which is crazy because I mean, I guess he's older than most of the people we're talking about, but I think like chronologically, I think his career is well after Snoop Dogg's and Eminem's. Like he
Yeah,
didn't
I
really
mean-
pop off to the early 2000s.
he and so Jay-Z and Eminem, I would say, run pretty parallel. Reasonable Doubt was 99,
Yeah,
and Slim Shady was 98, I think.
I thought Slim Shady was a little earlier, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
No. Infinite was 96, and then it was Slim Shady, so 97, I think. 97, 98, somewhere in there. Someone will correct me. But yeah, they run pretty much in parallel, and you see both of their careers, I think, kind of come to a head in the early 2000s, and then they make something different. And to me, Recovery for Eminem is what Blueprint 3 is for Jay-Z in a way. It's like an extremely polished album that kind of starts taking the sound in a slightly different direction. The flow is a little bit different, but at the same time, it's still, in a lot of ways, this massive hit of an album from a very well-respected artist within the community and the culture up until that point. And, like I said, the paths have diverged later on as time has gone on. And, Jay-Z, I think, has not only stood the test of time, but also kind of gone from being culturally irrelevant in the mid 2010s to kind of catapulting himself back into the spotlight just by producing art that, I don't think anybody expected of him, but he was able to just come back with something that really resonated with people and capture what it feels like to be this kind of aging artist in a way that is still kind of very appealing and has a lot of mainstream value to people who aren't in the same position, where it's like, oh, how do I keep up? Let me make music about, what it means to me to be kind of aging as the initial kind of half of the genre starts to age as well.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's good.
Right.
Yeah,
I
no,
think-
that's super smart.
What Jay-Z has as an advantage in a way, he's married to Beyonce. I
Yeah.
think just that alone
Yeah.
keeps him
They're like-
more tied into the culture.
They are like
I agree.
cultural royalty.
That's
They
what I'm
are.
saying. Like
Yeah.
It's
they
like-
are the definition of
Didn't
like
they
a
do a
black power
tour
couple.
called Royalty or something at some point?
I'm pretty sure, yes,
They
something
had
along
the
those lines.
Carters.
The Carters, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Royalty was a
Which
child.
the
who
name
came in
within
with it.
itself.
No,
Yeah.
that I knew, but there was I thought they did a promotional thing where it was like they were both wearing like face masks. Maybe it was the
It
On the
is
Run
something
tour.
like that.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
the On the Run tour, I think, but they did it with like they did something royalty related, whatever. But yeah.
Yeah, they're
But I mean,
basically
when
they're basically
I was-
the royal family of America.
Exactly. When
You
you
know?
think of like an older black power couple or like a celebrity couple, it's going to be Jay-Z and Beyonce.
Yeah, but like
and I
one
think
that
alone,
one
sorry,
that's
what?
still like a part of the culture and not like looking down upon it. I guess.
Exactly.
Like
And that's just their personalities shining. I feel like because of who they are and because of what they stand for, both Beyonce and Jay-Z are very intertwined within culture. They can, one, set the trends, and two, be a part of it. Like
Yeah.
a lot of times we talk about like there are influencers that can kind of set the trends, but it's a trickle down effect. They aren't really a part of it. They aren't really attached to it. But like Jay-Z and Beyonce have that influence and that power to like actually be a leader in among it. It's like a general. You're in the trenches with the rest of the community, but you're clearly a leader. And I feel like in terms of like just popularity and an influence, just the fact that you're in relation with Beyonce, like that alone brings you into other cultures, other
Yeah.
demographics. It
One other
alone puts them
thing,
above the top.
I really wanted to point out as well, just with Jay Z, that I think is undervalued by people our age, is the cultural capital that he had as far as what he meant in the context of pop culture. He was Kanye before Kanye was Kanye. The deal with Reebok, and
Yeah.
when people talk about, and this is like more of a fashion thing, but when people talk about iconic moments of like the early 2000s in fashion, Jay-Z going up on stage wearing the Jordan jersey, wearing like the Bulls jersey, Jordan 23, performing live on TV was like for so many people this like iconic moment. And it's just one of those things where like he really cemented himself as a not only as a musical figure, but also as kind of like a style icon, kind of representing that era as well. And then, Kanye and 50 Cent would come in and kind of start to erode that a little bit as taste changed. But he had his moment in like 2001 to 2003, I guess would be the period. I wasn't old enough to partake in it, but I've gone back and I've listened to interviews with people like the CEO of Reebok at the time, talking about working with Jay and just like what it meant to him to be, you know, able to embark in a creative process that wasn't just musical, and how
Mhm.
important that was to the culture at the time.
Yeah. Totally.
I agree. Jay-Z was it.
Yeah.
Like he was the culture.
Yeah. And he still is. Yeah.
All right, Brandon.
All right. So the
So what
last
is
one,
this?
I want to talk about KRS-One, who was like one of the OGs from like the 80s, right?
Uh,
And you know, as I was thinking about this, I was thinking about like roles that rappers over the age of 40 kind of like fit, right? You have the ones that don't blow up until they're 40, like
mhm.
Mike and L. You have the ones that like at this age, like they kind of bow out and only show up when they really feel they want to, like Andre. And then you have KRS-One, who is, I believe he is still making music, but he's kind of ascended not to like an elder statesman like Dre or Jay-Z, but more as like a sage, someone people go to get knowledge about like hip hop and like his origins, right? I see him
Mhm.
very much as like a what Lupe Fiasco is like becoming is like KRS-One from like the beginning, right? He's almost like a historian, but like a historian in like an older sense, like someone who like communicates the history to the people who are actively participating in it,
A
right?
shaman.
Right.
Yeah, he's like a shaman. Yeah. So
I was
like
gonna say in every culture there's always a position in the community for someone to be the
yeah,
older, wise person
yeah.
sharing the actual stories.
I
Right.
think Kendrick's going that route too.
Well, when I say Lupe, I mean like he's literally teaching at MIT, right?
True.
That
Yeah.
Like,
is true. That is literally
like
true,
he
yeah.
is like literally taking it like into almost an academic sense, right? And
Yeah.
I would say like Kendrick is someone who I think is primed for a position like that. It's just that Kendrick is just as an artist is just too exciting to like stop.
Yeah, I was gonna
Uh
say he serves the purpose of like what we could be.
yeah, right.
This is the best of the best.
And I think like I think there's a cultural misconception. I think we're very bad at telling the difference between like intelligence and wisdom, right? And wisdom is something you only get from experience. It is I would say KRS-One is like wisdom personified. And I also think KRS-One is very intelligent. But like yeah, it's just the experience he has, everything he's seen, right? Like he's been an active participant in hip hop since like before NWA, right? So just like as a
That's big.
resource for knowledge, who is better, right? And these are just the roles older people in any culture fit. And you have some people like a Dr. Dre, a Jay-Z, who kind of represent the culture to like everyone within it, but or everyone outside of it, right? Like when people look at the Met Gala, right? The kind of people who look at the Met Gala, that's how they interact with like hip hop. I like the kind of people who go there, people like Jay-Z, right? But people who interact with hip hop's legacy from within it, they go to someone like a KRS-One.
Oh, that's a really good choice, though.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. When you put that in, I did not recognize it.
He's not an artist I really listen to, but he is someone who like I have really listened to in terms of just like wanting to get like a history of the genre. And like, yeah, he's like a old school DJ, old school producer.
I mean, considering his age, he's literally been around since
the beginning
when it started, like literally.
Yeah, and like some people consider him like one of the greatest lyricists of all time. I don't know about that. I'm kind of leaning towards Kendrick, but like, but yeah, that was the yeah. So that was my last one. Just like a sage elder.
I think that's a good choice, then. Then I'll close it out. Then my last one. I saved this for last because I think this is
probably the most popular person.
Yes, I was going to say, when you think of rappers over 40, this should be the man.
Yeah, this is the guy who you should think of.
Right. I don't want to. I was hesitant to say like, oh, this is the best person over 40 because of like what he's done. But like, I just think he's the most influential in terms of accomplishments and just impact to the genre. If you don't know by now, we are talking about Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg has done everything.
He's done everything.
He's
still making decent music.
Like even the fact that he bought out the record label and now
Death
he
Row.
is the
yeah.
Now that he is now the leader of Death Row,
we're keeping it
reestablishing it and bringing it back up. It's when you think of people like Snoop Dogg, you think of like Shaq. They're just doing side quests at this point. Like in life, they're fully accomplished. They're just doing extra stuff.
But here's
they've done everything.
But here's
done everything.
But here's the thing, right? If Snoop Dogg is crazy successful at Death Row, like we want him to be, right? This could be like a lot of his story could still be in front of him.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I think like that's like the crazy part, like about Snoop Dogg specifically, is that he almost seems older than he is. Like
it's true. The fact that he is 51, he's not even the oldest person that we listed here. He's actually in the middle. The fact that he is 51, he has an extremely accomplished music career.
He's the fourth youngest.
Yeah, extremely accomplished. He's done everything. He's been in commercials, TV shows, movies, albums, features, fashion shows.
Now he's all the way up to owner.
Are either of you familiar with the Puppy Bowl?
Yeah.
It's a Puppy Bowl about Snoop Dogg.
The Puppy Bowl is a charity event that goes on the day of the Super Bowl where puppies that are up for adoption basically get to do like a little dummy football game to basically get adopted in front of a national audience, and it's streamed online on like Purina or something.
Yeah, he did the announcement.
He announces for it every year.
That's insane.
Yeah,
I didn't even know that.
He makes appearances at pretty much every E3.
Yeah,
because he plays video games. This man, you can buy this man's voice to talk about your kill streaks in Call of Duty. Literally, this is a thing. I think he's a playable character in the new like Warzone or whatever.
I think so.
I would believe it honestly because he's streaming it all the time. He's done everything. He's done everything. He's in every source of media, every genre. It doesn't matter. He's done everything.
Talk about the king of staying relevant.
Hot take. I think that even though he makes great music, his position as a public figure has actually, superseded that. Just because
I'm not against that, just because of the message itself. He's political on top of all.
There are young people now who don't know that he was on trial for murder.
Yeah.
There are people who see a picture of him and Martha Stewart together on a cooking show and are like,
Martha
"Oh,
Stewart
only
has
one of
been-
these people have been to jail." Like,
Yep, it is Martha Stewart. It's just like, and that was just the start of everything when he was doing all that.
yeah,
But yeah, if you're thinking about an old head, you think about someone over 40. I just feel like I was going to put Ice Cube because Ice Cube has a very accomplished video movie
Man.
career, but
Yes.
Snoop Dogg has done that and even more. Like Snoop Dogg, he's done everything. He's doing side quests at this point. Him and Shaq have lived a fulfilled life with doing things that no one's able to do, and now he's just doing side quests.
Completely agree.
I'm just gonna go watch Boys in the Hood and be sad now.
Yeah. I'm gonna go watch Lakeith Stanfield play him in Straight Outta Compton.
True.
Did you, Purvis? Were you the one who sent me the TikTok about Snoop Dogg when they tried to get him to get Nipsey Hussle to play him in Straight Outta Compton, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll do it," and then Nipsey was like, super respectful.
I just need to do me, man.
And he's like, "You're
I need
gonna
to
have
be
to find
myself."
someone else.
Like calling them on the spot, just like, yeah, he's not in. It's like you find someone else, which is a really dope experience. But it just shows he's everywhere. His fingerprints on everything. He's the perfect example of what a rapper could do when they're finished.
Surprised he doesn't have an orange juice brand.
Oh my god,
I wouldn't be surprised. He probably owns like a dog daycare, and we just don't even know about.
Oh my god!
Because of Snoop Dogg.
Who were some people you had to leave off? Because I almost had Rick Ross.
Ooh, that's not a bad one. I mean, I thought about Lil Wayne because he's technically 40.
Yeah, Lil Wayne was on there. I mean, Kanye is in this list.
Kanye was in the list.
Yeah, I don't. We all kept him. Yeah, I just don't want to talk about Kanye.
Yeah,
literally, all of us was like, "Yeah, we're not bringing him up right now. That's not time. He doesn't deserve this."
Basically, everyone from Wu-Tang.
Yeah,
I thought about.
I'm not gonna lie, Andre 3000 was on there, very close.
Yeah, Busta Rhymes was another one that I was like,
"Ooh, Busta Rhymes was another person."
A Tribe Called Quest.
Yeah, De La Soul.
De La Soul, yeah.
You know, I just felt like I was gonna come with one group. I didn't want to come with more.
That's very fair.
Yeah.
But
yeah, so
I was surprised, honestly, Jasper, I thought you were gonna put Pusha T.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I was thinking about it, but we've done such heavy dives on Push lately. I figured it was time to talk about some other people.
It's good instinct.
I respect it.
Yeah,
I respect it.
I did the same when I saw that West Side Gun's over 40. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna pick someone else. Like,
just like okay, we've discussed this.
Yeah, I was like, it'll be my third. This is, I think, my third one on video since the Cuddy one originally. So it's like I can't be the Pusha T guy in all three of these.
Yeah,
I can't do it.
Okay, I have two snubs. Ooh. Considering that we didn't include them, two huge snubs.
All right,
go on.
Hit me.
One, Puff Daddy. None of us put Puff Daddy.
I just don't have an emotional connection to Puff Daddy.
I'm not. I don't know the music as well as I should.
Yeah,
I just feel like
Bad Boy's huge, but like, here's the thing though. Like, Puff Daddy had like the big label war with Dre throughout the '90s and early 2000s.
And Dre won.
And he lost. Like,
and Dre won. Don't get me wrong. Puff Daddy, great career.
Dre won before he signed Kendrick Lamar. Like,
and then he signed.
Like, the rest he won and then signed the greatest rapper of all time. Like,
proves why he won.
Yeah. So
second one, no one said Nas.
Nas was actually on my list, and I took him off for KRS-One.
Okay.
Yeah, he was on mine because I kind of wanted to talk when I was talking about like roles. I wanted to talk about like how there are some artists that we write off because of their age, but they have a second wind in them, and like Nas was in there. It was like, you know, like because he has like Illmatic and like, you know, his early
stuff.
The early stuff is great. And like from what I hear, King's Disease is fantastic, along with like the one from 2018 and everything. So he's having this resurgence over like well over 40. So I was like,
one person over 40 that's like still actually making music.
But I was like,
competitively,
when I saw yours, I was like, what are the this was actually what I thought. And Jasper, I'm going to need you to confirm if I was correct. I was like,
Okay.
what's more likely? That, like, Jasper comes in with Nas or KRS-One? And I was like, I think Jasper might pick Nas.
Right. Over Kid. Okay.
Yeah, no, I went with Jay-Z instead, just because I think that
it's a good replacement.
Yeah,
I mean, they're both New York. They both had the resurgence. I think that Jay-Z has that pop culture appeal that made him more of a household name in a way that Nas didn't. Yeah. Even though it's, you can't deny Nas and his work critically. It's just one of those things where I think Jay had the cultural footprint that then started to subside, and then he kind of brought it back in a sense.
Yeah,
I like that, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, like, is there a way we want to close out this conversation then?
Brandon, you didn't do Royce da 5'9", and I'm upset.
Royce da 5'9" would have been a decent pick.
He's a good one, but like, I don't care.
I left him for you.
Why would have I ever talked to you about Royce da 5'9"?
I guess it's right.
I don't really listen to him. Like, he's talented.
I'm gonna call myself out. I was thinking of Big Crit. Disregard.
Yeah. Okay.
I was mixing the two.
That's racist.
Disregard. I'm the black one in this group.
Well, like,
I can do this.
Wow, Purvis, we don't see it that way.
I don't see color.
Buddy, I definitely see it that way.
Look, I called myself out. I am ashamed.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, no, I think the last question we had on here is like, is there a time to retire? But I just can't see our conversation going anywhere other than no. Like, sometimes, like, retiring is the best choice. Obviously, with like someone like Andre 3000.
Right.
But no, like, this is not basketball. You're not doomed if you want to play into your 50.
Do what feels right.
I say expand.
Yeah,
if it's not hip hop, do other medium.
And like, the other thing that's, once again, like, we would not, if we were doing this episode 10 years ago, first off, we would not have video cameras. And second off, who would we talk about? Like,
people from the 70s.
Eminem,
be like, yo,
Eminem and Snoop Dogg and Dre. And
it would be like,
KRS-One
is like almost 50. That's like an older rapper. But like,
and then no one.
Yeah.
Well, people over 40, yeah.
Yeah.
Very short list. We're at a prime time.
Yeah.
The old heads are still amongst us.
And I think it's good. I think it's good to have, like, I think the more different strands of the genre there are, the better.
It's true.
All right,
we're
boys.
bringing back Boom Back.
Yeah.
Recommendations?
Should we hit Rex? Should we hit Rex and get out of here? I got a pizza to throw in the oven.
Ooh,
let's do it.
Let me pull up my list. I'm not ready. So sorry.
All right, can I go first? All right, so this earlier this week I had to run an errands, and I actually was lucky enough that it took me straight down Lakeshore Drive, and this song hit while I was driving. We are recommending "Hands on the Wheel" by Schoolboy Q. Absolutely fantastic.
Approved.
Kid Cudi interpolation. Amazing A$AP Rocky feature. We also didn't talk about his single this week. It was fine.
We didn't. It was okay.
Yeah, it was
fine. That's why we didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
It was fine.
So yeah, that's
Hands on the Wheel is a banger. So
Hands on the Wheel is a classic.
It's a great song.
A classic. Like, I don't think that album's a classic, but that song's a classic.
That's fair. That is very fair. All right, but well, I'll go next then. My first one is a song by The Alchemist, even though he's a producer. It's like a producer album. Featuring Earl Sweatshirt. The song's called Ecola. I think it's a phenomenal song. I think Earl Sweatshirt does an amazing job on the song. And like, The Alchemist needs to go down. When we have another producer episode, The Alchemist will be
eventually. Yeah, like there's
no question.
Yeah,
I think the song's phenomenal.
Just because like I think we could do it so much better than we did, and there's just so many producers.
We're gonna have a couple episodes for that.
Yeah, we'll probably do one.
A repeating trend.
We'll do like one producer episode a year. Like,
you're right. Spread it out. All right, but what's yours?
Yeah, so my first, I figured I'd kind of play into the theme this week. It's going to be Eminem and Jay-Z, their single collab, Renegade, which is the main reason almost nobody features Eminem on their music anymore, including Snoop Dogg. Specifically said, I'm never going to have Eminem on one of my songs after seeing what happened on that track. It made it onto Curtain Call and also one of Jay-Z's albums. I don't remember which one. But yeah, powerhouse kind of duo, versus chorus. Chorus is Jay-Z, and then they each have one verse. I think maybe they split the last one, but super good song, just intricate, kind of peak early 2000s, like superstar rap duo.
Wait, why'd they say they weren't going to feature him anymore?
Just because he bodies them.
He absolutely bodies compared to Jay-Z's verse. Oh my God. Like, it's not close. I know it word for word still, like years later.
Remember that song Forever?
Mm-hmm.
Like, didn't like Drake and Kanye re-record their verse after?
Yeah, Kanye was upset about it too.
Yeah.
The song Cherry Bomb with Lil Wayne and I believe it was Kanye, right? Like, he actually heard Lil Wayne's part and was like, okay, scratch that.
Yeah.
We're going to go again. We need to come stronger.
Yeah.
Kanye kept Eminem off Monster. He was supposed to be on the song Monster. And
that song would have been ridiculous. It's already
still too long. But then again, like, it's My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. If it's not long, what's the point?
Oh, Kanye, why?
Yeah.
Anyway, what's your second song, Brandon?
Oh, I've just been happy recently, which is rare for me. So I'm going to recommend "Lovely Day" by Vic Mensa. It's a song from his mixtape era. This is a lot of early Vic stuff. There's like stuff that, like, half of it is like, oh, this is like a really cool, like, creative, like, unique sound, and half of it is like, this is an extremely good Chance the Rapper impression. And unfortunately, this is in the latter camp, but it's just such a good song. And like, I've been in a good mood lately. So
okay,
been on the rotation.
Does he have little Chance screeches in there?
A little bit.
What's the title of the song?
Lovely Day. You might have to go to SoundCloud for it. I don't know if it's on Spotify.
Wow, what a switch up. Look at you.
I haven't done that since the It's Based freestyle.
I hate you so much. Can't believe you did that. Anyway, my second one, this is more of a deep cut into the vault, I would say. I'm bringing back my low-key artist for recommendations. Ryan Trey is someone that I found about a year or so ago. Very low-key artist. He has a song called Mutual Butterflies. It is a phenomenal song. It has great samples cut into the song, a great beat. I feel like a lot of albums that I appreciate when it's built together has like interludes between songs that just adds on to the actual quality of like the verses and also the chorus. And I think the song hits everything that I've been looking for. So that's my recommendation. Mutual Butterflies by Ryan Trey.
All right.
Jasper, let's go.
All right. Yeah, my second one also kind of keeps with the theme, but is a different genre. Artist over 40 still, though. Daft Punk. Unfortunately, they came.
I've been listening to a ton of Daft Punk this week. Holy shit.
Yes, yeah. Their partnership came to an end last year, unfortunately. But their last project, Random Access Memories, is. I want to start by saying Daft Punk, 2 of their albums hold places in my top 10 albums of all time. Random Access Memories is one of them. And one of the songs I think is overlooked on there is Within, which doesn't really have any features, but is just kind of like a sweet, a little slower kind of song, very kind of introspective, exploratory, and, just super nice track. So, Artist Over 40, and this is actually the 2023 is the 10-year anniversary of that album. So I figured it was kind of like a fitting pick for this week.
That is a good one. That's a really good one.
It's always the 10-year anniversary.
Dude, we're coming up on a bunch of time. Dude, this is the 10-year anniversary of Because the Internet.
Dude, this is 10-year anniversary for a lot of really good albums.
Yeah, no, it's rough.
2013 was packed.
Yeah,
we had
Yeezus
Mac
turns
Miller,
10.
Chance the Rapper, Yeezus.
Unfortunately.
It was a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah.
Man.
It was a lot. Schoolboy Q, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Anywho.
Macklemore's The Heist. Are we going to do deep dive on The Heist for its 10-year anniversary, guys? Come
We're
on.
gonna kick you off the show.
It's the Grammy-winning The Heist. What are you talking about?
You know what? I will rant for an hour about the heist. If we do a heist episode, I'm fine with that. I will force myself to listen to it just so I can yell at it.
As long as I'm recording and editing the podcast, we're not doing a heist episode.
Okay, that's
you don't want to critique Macklemore's tasteless interpretation of what he thinks being gay is like?
Didn't it win the Grammy?
Yeah.
When he was in the 3rd grade?
When he was in the 3rd grade, and he kept his room really neat.
It's like, wow, you're real clean.
It's just so
gay boy.
Homosexual.
I hate everything.
I think the only thing worse than like saying that to someone is like an 8-year-old, like someone in the 3rd grade actually being like, am I gay because my bed is made? Like, my bed is made. What does that say? Like,
that album is a shit show.
Yeah.
But, you know.
I thought some of the features were cool.
It's just like such a weird assortment of songs. It's just weird. It's a weird album.
Not good. My only thing is, I think Ryan Lewis isn't the worst producer in the world.
Agreed.
Yeah, he's just not the. I don't think he's as bad as a producer as Macklemore is a rapper.
Why are we making positive out of this album? There's nothing we need to sit back and critique.
Because deep dive coming soon.
We can say it's bad and leave it at that.
No,
I'm saying it's bad. An episode on heist.
First off, yes, we're not doing an episode on the heist. If we're doing an episode on a heist, it's a heist we do, and we are doing it from jail. Like,
no, I guess we're not going to get away with it.
All right. Good night, everybody. We're done here. Like, we could just never bring it in for a landing.